Hello, everybody, and welcome back to M&J Games. I am Michael, and today we're looking at a park called Park Eddard by Mr. Antonio. And a quick description says, realistic family-owned amusement park somewhere in Northern Europe. Includes a custom-supported GCI wooden coaster, B&M dive coaster, launch Gerstlauer, and a log flume. All coasters were built with the 4-meter method and feature custom supports. Enjoy. Now, I'm really excited for this park tour today because I'm joined by none other than Moomin Littlesocks. So Moomin, thank you so much for joining me for this tour.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you've done one of these with Matty before, but I'm just really excited to kind of get your expertise and insight and kind of seeing what a lot of us are doing on console, because this is I do feel like the level of parks that are being created now are just continuing to get better as we get more and more used to kind of the intricacy of this game.
Absolutely, and I've said many times before that I think because you don't have TMTK on console, it's such an added level of creativity involved in achieving the things that are certainly easier to do on PC.
Yeah, it does make it challenging at times, especially when watching a lot of PC builders great builds, and you're like, oh man, if only we had that piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you've done a lot of stuff with your kind of little realism bits that I've learned from just making custom windows, custom doors, a lot of those little things. And so real quick, what's your or as you're kind of seeing some of these initial images and cinematic shots, what's your first thought of this park?
I'm already very excited because I can see a lot of realism. It's got a big old car park, which I think I'm known for doing ridiculously big car parks. Yeah, and it all looks it's nice and compact. I'm a big fan of doing smaller parks with more detail, and it looks like one of those.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of gives me, I've never been to a theme park in the UK, but just kind of from what I've seen, it kind of gives me a little bit of Alton Towers vibes with kind of that big grassway in the middle, which I think looks really good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know where this is supposed to be based geographically, but it certainly has European vibes to it.
It looks really good, and I agree with you. I think that's one thing that I need to get better at. It's not trying to make as large of a park, but just trying to add that more details. It really does. The more detail you add, the more it really brings the park to life. And I love seeing more people making parking lots, or as I'm starting to say now, car park. Because it just really adds that extra sense of realism to the park, and just what a great view right there. This is where kind of the guests enter from.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so important to get this initial bit. And I know a lot of people say, I don't want to waste huge amounts of piece count on a car park, on something that's not used, but it just sets that scene when you arrive into the park and gets you fully immersed in it, rather than just leaving the guest spawner. That ruins it for me. So I like to just have at least something, even if it's a tiny little car park with your guest services and your park entrance. It just makes the difference. And this is amazing.
I love adding the detail on adding those kind of poles and those supports to kind of hang the signs. And, I think the one thing that bugs me more than anything with console is the fact that we can't, I don't know why we can't take a picture in the game and add the signs and stuff. Like, that doesn't seem
custom media, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand not being able to import media outside of the console, but why can we not add a video or add something? That to me doesn't seem like it'd be too complicated, but I don't know coding and stuff, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's many things that console edition is missing that seems like an obvious addition.
Yeah, but right away as you walk in, I love this kind of step down because it just kind of adds that little that layer of depth to the park, and just such a great sightline.
People often forget to add these different levels, and I always say when starting a park, give yourself some different levels to begin with, because no land is ever going to be completely flat. So make it harder for yourself. And yeah, having that raised thing not only looks great from a verticality point of view, but it allows you to see across the park as soon as you come in.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing you'll see too throughout this park is there's a lot of the same building styles kind of taken, and which I kind of like that. And I think this is a color that I wouldn't necessarily, when I was thinking of building, use, but I think he used it really well, and it looks good.
It's all very cohesive.
Great, and you got the monorail going around. Monorail is one of those I haven't really built much, just because with having a limit, kind of haven't wanted to take away from the coasters and stuff. But it definitely does add that sense of realism, being able to take it from one side of the park to the other. And this dive coaster is beautiful.
It is, yeah. I mean, I can't input much when it comes to like the technical side of coasters, but from like an aesthetic vista point of view, yeah, this is stunning.
Yeah. Well, and he said he used the 4-meter method, which I tried once, and I was like, forget it, too tedious.
Yeah.
But no, it's impressive to see these type of coasters built and stuff, and just the views. And I love that chair swing ride because it just always adds a great view to.
It's these little details like you can't quite see down there, but I'm assuming like there is some kind of like retaining wall there. Like the infrastructure's there. Like coasters don't just kind of dip into the ground. There's always got to be some sort of structure. And yeah, whether it be a retaining wall, and if there's a lovely little lake there, which is really nice.
Yeah, and as you can see, the custom supports on the path I think are really cool, because that's something I think you realize sometimes that we forget that you actually in theme parks sometimes have the coaster supports actually going in the path, right? Because there's sometimes no way to avoid it. But I think it's really cool.
It's a really good thing to do, and for people that are worried about having guests walk through them, you can just sink a barrier or a curb underneath, and it means that they'll walk around it, so they can be fully integrated.
Yeah. If anybody's wondering, there's like a little shadow a little bit at times, or it's because I accidentally turned on the flashlight in the game, and I didn't realize it until about 10 minutes later that I had it turned on. So I apologize for that. There's sometimes I think you might feel and notice it, but then I think another reason too why I wanted you to see this park as well is, like, even though it's got 4-meter coasters and stuff, just the detail, the realism, like transfer tracks and stuff are really impressive. Something that not a lot of people are making on console, but I really love them out when people do that.
It makes all the difference. Again, it adds to the immersion of the park.
Yeah. And this is a very kind of modern looking station, which is so different than the other area of the park, but I think it does fit and it looks nice. And
yeah, it gives that implies that it was a later addition to the park. I love that idea of, like, even in the detail of, I love adding an extension to a build that came later and using a different material for that, and that kind of thing. It adds some story to the park.
Right, agreed. And I feel like in this game it's hard to make station buildings or buildings in general that aren't squares or rectangles, which I love. Love that area right there, kind of having that realism for the cabinets and stuff. Looked really awesome.
It is, and again, with doing that without TMTK is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very smooth.
It's a really impressive coaster, and 4-meter method is just too tedious. Much time.
Yeah, I've never even attempted it.
Yeah, I don't know how Chacho and some of those guys do it, who make these massive coasters and use 4-meter and.
I mean, I talk to Nerd Chacho quite a lot, and I see the amount of hours he puts into each episode, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it shows in his builds.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, what are your thoughts overall on that coaster?
Yeah, perfect. As I said, like, as far as like comparing it to real life, I can't say much. I mean, I've been on Oblivion at Alton Towers, and that's the extent of my dive coaster knowledge. But yeah, really good from an aesthetic point of view. I love that lake that it goes down to. You've got the splash zone there as well. Yeah, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've been on one dive coaster. It was the Griffin at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. And yeah, I think the elements are perfect for what a dive coaster does. And it kind of gracefully goes through. That's one thing that kind of is something really unique about this style of coaster, is it never seems to go through the elements quickly, right? Like, it's very kind of graceful. I guess it's due to probably the engineering behind the actual how the coaster is seated. But I think it's really, really well done. And as we're looking here now at kind of the backstage area and the transfer track.
Yeah.
Since you love doing backstage stuff, what are your thoughts on this area?
Perfect. And it's accommodated for the fact that the dive coaster is such a wide and huge coaster. But they've accommodated with that with a larger maintenance shed and large transfer tracks. Yeah, really good attention to detail.
Yeah, and one thing too, as I'm kind of zooming out a little bit, is because I looked at this park before it was almost done, and I let the guy know is he actually had paths going around the entire park, kind of or around the back of the park for like maintenance roads and stuff, which I love seeing that, the air ducts and stuff. Really cool. And it actually took up about 4% of the build, and so I let him know about that, and he went back and just kind of did the terrain painting for that, because I don't know if you know with console that using paths just absolutely kill the grid or the counter.
Yes, yeah, I did, which is mad. I was trying to get my head around like what the programming behind that, but I couldn't really come up with a good, sensible reason.
Yeah, which this looks really nice at night. I think now I don't know about the grid point of it, because for example, if you use path pieces that are on a grid, you can get about 3 times as many pieces per percent.
Yeah.
But I think maybe with the width of it is due to maybe the amount of square footage inside that actual path piece. So like a 4x4, a 4-meter path compared to a 10-meter path. Well, a 10-meter path is going to have about 2.5 times the amount of square footage in it.
Yeah, I can only imagine it comes down to how the guest AI and pathfinding works.
Yeah.
How many calculations it's having to do, something like that.
Yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, so I try to always as wide paths as I can get, just because it saves on it, which I know sometimes isn't the most realistic, but then also placing them on a grid helps. But I love the said the attention to detail here, the little backstage areas for even just these small buildings is really nice.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't even need to say it. I love all of the backstage stuff. I'd make a whole park of backstage if I could.
Yeah, and then I love the view of this Gerstlauer coaster too, as it it's a very tight space, so it kind of goes out and back, but it works really well.
Yeah, this is really nice. Oh, so Eingang, that said. So is this a German park, are we thinking? Is that German, or am I being really ignorant right now?
I mean, I don't know, but I think that sounds correct, so...
Yeah, we'll go with that for now.
Yeah, it says, I mean, the description says somewhere in Northern Europe.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, that kind of works, I think.
This is where I realized that I accidentally had that flashlight on. Like, why is it looking so weird with how bright it is? But, yeah. Yeah, I think the one thing I'd say is, I think in terms of some of the stations, adding a little bit more light on the interior of it, which I know sometimes to do some of that as well. Just because you never really visit theme parks at night, right? You kind of visit it during the day.
This is a massive complex I have. Is like I don't enjoy doing the nighttime lighting because, as you said, it's something that you would never really experience unless it's like a specific nighttime event happening at a theme park. Then, yeah, you so rarely see it.
Yeah, agreed. That's like my wife loves doing lighting and stuff, and I'm like, I hate it. Like, is it's like I feel like whenever you're the one building stuff, you can notice like, oh my gosh, these lights sitting here in the path just look terrible. But then if you're looking at somebody else's park, like you don't even notice it. You know, kind of like if you paint and you notice a drip, nobody else will notice the little drip when you painted, but you'll notice it. It will drive you crazy.
100%.
So what are your thoughts on this coaster, or at least kind of the
very nice. It's actually Gerstlauer is one that I know a fair bit about from doing the one I have in Worthington Farms. So I'd say very accurate after having studied their technical documentation for a good few days. This looks great, and this guy clearly knows what he's doing. He's done his research.
Yeah, I definitely like that launch area too. It just kind of adds that other, just a little more level of intrigue to the ride. I've only been on one Gerstlauer in my life, but I watch a lot of POVs and try to look up stuff on coasters, and that was really, really well done. Probably, I think still my favorite custom supports I've seen is the one you made in the Worthington Farms of doing the supporting around that helix with that coaster.
Yeah. I know nothing about supporting and what the technical way to do it is, but I thought I know what looks nice, and with aesthetics over structural support.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like sometimes it's okay to do that just because we're not as long as we get to where it looks believable, right? Like we're not engineers,
Exactly, yeah.
but as long as it looks believable. And I love that little playset area, and then once again we get another little backstage. Just the attention to detail in the park is really impressive.
Yeah, 100%. And a little playground there, really nice touch. Poet would be happy with that one.
Say that again.
Poetry Slam would. She puts a playground in every park she does, so she'd love that.
Well, what I loved about that one too, which was there's like 3 or 4 different kind of little pathways up to it. It's a lot of detail, which is really nice, and once again carrying the building style throughout with that kind of yellowish stucco. And I know you love building with stucco, right?
It's a very versatile piece, and it's got a lovely texture to it.
Yeah, agreed. So while we're on this little ride, because I know you hadn't been that long since you started your YouTube channel, which I think Worthington Farms was your first kind of thing to do on YouTube. So what got you wanting to start a YouTube channel?
Oh,
I mean, obviously you're very, very detailed and good at this game.
In all honesty, it wasn't really it wasn't really planned. I'd played the game since launch, and I felt like I was fairly competent at the game, and I wanted to share what I was doing. So originally, like the first episode, it was just pretty much just the time lapse. There wasn't really much commentary over it, and then it was people asking for the commentary, and then it's kind of like snowballed and developed from there. And then, like 2 series down the line, I was like, oh God, I'm a YouTuber now. I actually need to pay attention and do this. So yeah, no, in the beginning, I just wanted to kind of share my work, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, just thought I saw some stuff. I was like, oh, this could be fun to try to do. If it doesn't work, who cares? It's fun, and if it works out, great.
Yeah.
And it's like I've met people from all over the world because of this, or at least met them virtually, right? You know, like you, Matty, and Tommy, and Plip, and Magic Mike from Germany and stuff. So it's really kind of cool just to, I never would have really found this community if I didn't start doing YouTube stuff. So it's really cool just with this game. Like obviously they have competitions and stuff, but at the end of the day, we're all trying to help each other get better. We're not trying to like beat each other. It's one large community that's trying to help each other out. So it's really fun to be a part of.
I don't have much of a reference for other communities. I would say Planet Coaster is the only real community I'm immersed in. But like, I would say, I mean, I feel like it's a very, very good community.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's more just like when my brothers play Fortnite all the time, and I never really got into that. Or, like I think Jasmine and I tried online gaming for like some shooting game a while back, and none of us were good playing online because it's like we don't spend hours playing it online. So it's just kind of like, oh, this isn't as fun. But this is more, it's not as individualized, right? Like it's share stuff with the community and
absolutely, which I think again is. This is why it's so important that if we do get a sequel to this game, that I think that there should absolutely be more focus on that community aspect. Certainly at the minimum, I'd love to be able to share things cross-platform. And on top of that, just being able to collab on a park easily. Like imagine being in the same park as someone else and building simultaneously would just be perfect.
It'd be amazing, yeah. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you probably do, but we can't actually share cross-platform on consoles. So, like, we can't share with Xbox and.
No, I do. Which is, I mean, it's so hard, isn't it? Like, I feel like a lot of that is locked by the console creators over Frontier, and I don't know the ins and outs of like how is it even possible? Like, there is some cross-platform across different games, isn't there? So.
Yeah, well, I don't really do online stuff much with gaming other than Planet Coaster, so I don't know if there's other games where that aspect of it. But I guess it does make sense when you think about like even for a game that's available on both Xbox and PlayStation. It's not like you can play online with cross consoles. You can only do PlayStation or Xbox. But yeah, and I love that queue right here for this log flume. It was nice, kind of felt really separated from the rest of the park, which is nice.
I have to say that all the rides that they've got in this park are rides that I love building. I don't know why that is, but yeah, these are all the kind of rides, coasters, track rides that I lean towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in my park I'm working on right now, I am going to try to put in a water ride. Just haven't really done a detailed one yet, just because I know there's a lot more that goes into it than making a coaster, right?
Yeah.
All the theming and stuff, but and I love these buildings that we can now see. The ride just really, really well done. Beautiful sidelines.
Yeah. No, I think with the log flume, because like it's very much like an out and back. It takes so much work to theme them, whereas you take something like a compact coaster, it's all in one plot. Whereas a log flume, generally, certainly these like scenic log flumes, they go out such a long distance that you've got such a large space to theme.
Yeah.
So it's hard work, but he's done a very good job with this.
Yeah, and this is it's a longer log flume, but like you said, it kind of travels a lot of distance in the park, and so it'll kind of go around the coaster here, and just adding in these little details like that little outhouse right there is just it adds so much, right? Yeah,
there's always something to look at.
And this is a first on console. I have not seen anybody on console, because of piece count, custom support GCI. Like, that looks awesome.
That is something that I would never even attempt. So, yeah, I mean, well done for doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, I know I watched Nerd Chacho's episode where he did this, and I'm just like, dude. No.
Yeah, well, he's a madman.
That's taking too much time. Like, I wonder how long it took Mr. Antonio to do that, because that's crazy.
But it's worth it. Like, if you are willing to put in the hours, then it's gonna look stunning afterwards.
Yep, totally agree. And then even adding the covering here for chain and stuff, just
another nice interaction here. Nice view of the park there as well.
Yeah, I love that drop. Is like you said, just great views. Really impressive. Yeah,
this whole park is so cohesive and seamless. There's nothing. There's no gaps. Just plain grass. Yeah. There's always something, whether it be plaza or a flower bed. There's always something.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem forced either. Like, there's no nothing here seems like it was just placed in without a forethought of how's it going to be themed around, and all that there's more like, it's not that's necessarily themed up really high in terms of you got like a fantasy theme or anything like that, but you can definitely tell the different areas of the park. So this is more of a more Western, not necessarily rustic, but you can definitely tell that it's a different area from the little bit more modern area where the dive coaster was.
For sure.
And once again, little subtle terrain changes, nothing crazy. I love doing big plazas too, where you kind of have it's not just like square and rectangular. And as we kind of just look at an overview of where the log flume goes, which that's a really cool look right there, going over the coaster, going in the tunnel.
Yeah, you've got the coaster going over and under there, haven't you?
Yeah, really, really cool.
That's nice.
Yeah, so we're just leaving the station now, and once again, I mean, as I said before, like, the views are just awesome, and timing for that.
Really nice.
So is it I guess because you said you enjoy building some of the coasters that are built in this class, if you are to build a coaster, is it the Gerstlauer coasters you kind of go in more towards?
We all know how I deal with coasters. I just DM Nerd Chacho and get him to build it for me.
What is your favorite thing to build in the game? Is it to do like detailed buildings? Do some of the unique stage stuff?
Taking something as small as possible. Like the other day, I just sat down and spent the whole day building a medieval just ribbon restaurant. Because if you just take something small, manageable, you can just do it with the highest level of detail. If you do the opposite and you're going to say, oh, I'm going to make a mega park, you can't go into that without knowing it's going to take you 3 years to finish it.
Right.
I love taking something small and bite size, and that even though that was just a standalone shop, I can now put that in a park if I want to later on. But I've done it, and it's a very rewarding feeling to just take a small thing and put all the detail into it.
Yeah. I'm kind of like the opposite of you, where coasters are still my favorite thing to do, like coasters and transfer tracks and that kind of stuff. And I'm getting better, but I'm still need to work on like doing how to detail buildings well and stuff like that. And so like on my park, I'm working on like, I'm just stuck on how I want the buildings to look in the area I'm working on. I've got the coaster and everything. Like, gosh, how do I want these buildings to look? So you get some inspiration.
For me, it's all about reference.
Yeah.
Again, with this medieval shop, I just found some reference photos and just literally just studied it and copied it with what the pieces were we had in game. And that's another advantage of the more you are familiar with your catalog of build items, you can just look at something and go, oh, well, I can use the spooky beam for that. I can use the wooden pillar for that. And then the more you're able to do that, the easier it is just to copy a reference picture.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. But yeah, now as we're taking a look here at the coaster, and just a great cue, that is an amazing part to wait in line where you got the first drop. And I mean, I'm sure you saw the quick little video clip, but the detail on this building is just insane.
I love those little lamps. I'm trying to work out what they are. Very nice.
Yeah, I need to go back and look at those too. So, I mean, this is a really detailed station building. I think we get a good look at it afterwards too from the exterior again. But it kind of reminds me of almost like a lodge, like something you'd see kind of in the States, like up in the mountains or Colorado or something like that.
Yeah, it's very alpine.
A very, very well done coaster too, as we'll see.
Yeah, you can't beat a wooden coaster.
Well, a smooth wooden coaster, I'll say that.
Yes, true.
Yeah. The ones that aren't smooth, I basically will just ride it to make sure I can get a credit for it or say I've been on it, and then it's like, that's it. I'll ride in the very front so that it's, or not above a wheel so that it's less shaky, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a rare exception to us other YouTubers in that you actually do real-life theme park vlogs, don't you?
Yeah, I try to when I get a chance. So they're fun to do. You know, I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert at coasters because I'm definitely not. But I feel like I've learned. Honestly, Planet Coaster got me back into. I love this kind of first turnaround. Like really well done. Planet Coaster got me really back into theme parks because of just playing the game and then rediscovering my love for theme parks that I had growing up. I've tried to become a lot more knowledgeable and learn a lot of things. And I look back at some of the first moves I made in this game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those were terrible.
I think that's the same, like for anybody and any type of build. Like, I just delete old parks now because I'm just too embarrassed to even look at them. Terrible.
I almost want to like make a YouTube video where I go around my first park, and I'm just like, gosh, this is awful. What was I thinking?
Yeah, no, don't do it.
Yeah, but no, I love this. I mean, this coaster is awesome, and just the detail of a little transfer track area is nice, but just the detail on the side where you've got the wooden wall kind of on the side of it, almost as like protection for something, is really really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And then putting the lights on the side here is a nice little touch to kind of add some kind of lighting to the lift hill for nighttime.
It is. It just makes it a little bit more custom.
Yeah.
And I really love, after the first drop, there's a really nice interaction with the queue.
Agreed.
Which is always great. Yeah.
Yeah. I have been on a newer GCI coaster when I went to Kings Island. Like that's the wall I'm talking about right there. That I think is a really, really nice touch. I got to ride Mystic Timbers, and man, like, when you got a wooden coaster that is super smooth, it is awesome. Like, that's one of my favorite coasters I've been on.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever been on a GCI. I have been on a Woody in Great Yarmouth, which I don't expect you to have heard of. And it's like your classic Big Dipper, like a seafront attraction.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the only Woody I think I've ever been on.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of old ones here in America that are pretty rough. So, yeah. So hopefully some more GCI coasters will be built. Yeah. So that was the wooden coaster. I think it was called Wolf, and so kind of getting another overshot view of this area. What are your thoughts? Not necessarily just on the coaster, but on this area and how the creator kind of designed the whole space.
I think it's absolutely perfect. The custom supports add that next level of detail. It's all perfectly integrated into the area. There's nice little touches like the lodge that just properly make the whole area cohesive. And just again, there's no gap that hasn't had some sort of attention to detail added to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so you can see me clicking on that there. I think I tried to click on the supports to see, and I think for each one it ends up being like a couple hundred pieces at least. And sometimes it's hard to click on only highlight what you're actually trying to highlight.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just love how that little plaza
really nice.
turned out and building, and then you've got this little right here kind of tucked away to the side.
Yeah.
So that's why you got the kind of wooden pieces there too as protection from that ride, which is everything's really well thought out and
everything looks like it's been planned really well.
Especially that station building, like that right there is just it's amazing.
Yeah, this is really good work.
Yeah. And so that's the last little bit in the park. So we still have a couple minutes just to kind of doing some last overviews. And in a second, we will take a look at night. But I also love how the entire exit path is kind of covered. I feel like sometimes, that's obviously see that in parks. And so having that detail of keeping it on a grid, but being able to actually use wall pieces to kind of outline it is really nice.
Yeah, I think often the exit path is probably one of the most overlooked things. So it's nice when someone puts some nice attention into it.
And you got a little
and transfer tracks.
Yeah,
very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's just a beautiful coaster. And then now we see nighttime lighting. So what are your thoughts about the nighttime lighting, just as an overview?
Really nice. It's not overdone. There aren't any major hotspots, which is really important. It's just really nice. Just small amount of lighting is what you need. I don't like it when it's overdone, when people think they need to put a lamppost every square meter.
Yep.
It looks really good.
Totally agree. I think we've talked about before, lighting is my least favorite thing to do. So I think sometimes I accidentally overlight stuff up with maybe using like area lights for something. But in general, I agree with you in terms of putting the actual lights down on the path. And we see this kind of terrain painted access road for the employees, which is nice. That's one thing.
No, I think they've done a really good.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'd say a really good job of just taking a specific sized area. They've got their grid size and keeping within it and just making a really nice, highly detailed, cohesive park.
Yep. And I just zoomed in on the terrain there a second ago. It almost looks like they took a little inspiration from you kind of on your, not Little Treasure Cove, but Little Rock Ridge when you showed how you did the kind of 2 or 3 layers of terrain and put some trees and a little bit of bushes, and it just kind of adds that nice layering to the exterior of the park.
Yeah, you can get some really nice effects if you layer up various terrain paints.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, Moomin, so we got about 1 minute left. So what are your overall final thoughts on the park?
I think it's perfectly executed. I think they obviously have a real gift for coasters. And I just think the whole thing is a perfect park. That's simple as that. It's a perfect park.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the best I've seen on console. Just the level of detail is really great, and just absolutely love this park. So thank you so much, Moomin, for joining me on this park tour.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
I appreciate it. And as I said, I should have said in the beginning, make sure to go subscribe to Moomin's channel, which I'm sure all of you already are, because it's by the way, congratulations on your growth the past couple months, because it's insane to see how much you're growing. And
thank you. I keep telling people not to subscribe, but for some reason they keep doing it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, I just want to congratulate you on that, because it's really, really impressive. So thank you guys so much, everybody, for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe button, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, Moomin.
Bye-bye.